Look like Caitlin Clark had a new video that is definitely breaking the internet.
Caitlin Clark just sent shockwaves through the entire WNBA world. In a stunning new interview, she finally spoke out, not about her stats, not about her fame, but about what's really been happening behind the scenes.
So there's a video of Caitlin Clark going viral all over the internet, and it's her speaking. I believe this is a Glam Girl interview. I don't know.
The league that built her name might now be fearing the power of her voice. From hidden locker room chaos to uncomfortable truths about how players are treated, Caitlin didn't hold back. Fans are calling it her most unfiltered moment yet. But the question everyone's asking now is, who will dare respond?
I feel like my mom has always kind of been my rock. The first person I called when I got hurt this year was my mom. I'm like, can you fly here and cook me a meal and just spend time with me? And that is just the person that makes you feel safe. And I probably took that for granted as a kid, but my mom always made the best meals. I think it's important to take time for yourself. And I think also when I do have free time, one of my escapes is cooking a healthy meal for myself, whether that's, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I really do enjoy that. Just putting on music and making a home cooked meal. And I think that's because it feels like a safe place for myself, because that's kind of what I grew up on.
It started quietly. No flashy teaser, no dramatic promo, just a calm sit-down interview that instantly went viral. Caitlin Clark appeared composed, but her words carried weight that made the entire WNBA world pause. For months, fans had begged for her to finally speak out. The season had been full of tension, whispers of mistreatment, and visible frustration on the court. Yet, Caitlin remained silent. Until now, what she revealed wasn't just personal. It was a direct challenge to how the WNBA operates from the inside.
Lisa Bluter sat down with Sarah Spain, and that was the video I did before this one, and she shedded a bunch of stuff on Caitlin Clark that we just did not know. Stuff that I feel we needed to know, to kind of help strengthen up the fan base. We know we all have been critical of the Caitlin Clark era and the Caitlin Clark fans' hype, I should feel like, moving forward, but Lisa Bluter dropping jewels.
She began by talking about pressure, the kind that comes from being the league's most marketed player, while being forced into a system that never truly protected her. She hinted that what fans see on camera is only a fraction of what really happens behind closed doors. The constant scrutiny, the selective media narratives, and the quiet politics between teams had started to wear on her.
We need more of this offseason, of Caitlin Clark speaking with us in depth, telling us stuff we didn't know, just different stuff about her and her personal life. I don't want to be one to, indulge on people's personal life, but this is just great for her to be opening up a little more.
Listeners could feel the shift in tone. This wasn't the polite rookie fans met in press conferences. This was a woman who had been pushed to her limit. Caitlin spoke about how communication with league officials often felt one-sided, as if decisions about her image and workload were made without her input. She explained that her injury recovery, her minutes, and even her public appearances were heavily controlled. Sometimes, she said softly, it feels like they want the brand more than the person. Those words hit like a thunderclap. Fans replayed that moment again and again, a line that perfectly captured what so many had suspected but couldn't prove. Within hours, clips flooded social media. Hashtags exploded. WNBA insiders scrambled to do damage control, while fans demanded transparency. The league had spent months trying to silence speculation. Now, Caitlin herself had confirmed it. And this was only the beginning.
I know, everybody's in mixed feelings right now with the genre and with how women's basketball is going. If we want Caitlin Clark to be the best basketball player we know she is, we have to keep supporting her brand. We have to support her financially for us buying her merch, for us buying those Wilson basketballs. We have to still let our voices be heard, the little that stayed. And hopefully, Caitlin Clark can reach the mountaintop again, get back to where she was at.
Caitlin Clark's words didn't just trend, they detonated across every sports platform. Overnight, the entire conversation around the WNBA shifted from game highlights to league accountability. What triggered her to finally speak wasn't random. According to sources close to her circle, Caitlin had reached a breaking point. Months of pressure, quiet disagreements, and mounting frustration had built up until silence was no longer an option. She wasn't just tired of the criticism, she was tired of being controlled. In the interview, Caitlyn described how her confidence was being chipped away from within. She explained how she was often told to tone it down, to avoid saying too much, to stick to the safe topics that wouldn't ruffle feathers. But Caitlyn's nature had always been fiery. The same passion that made her a household name was now being managed, reshaped, and softened by people who didn't understand her drive. Fans who admired her unfiltered energy could feel that something had been off for months. Now they finally had an explanation. She talked about team dynamics, hinting that not everyone in the locker room was supportive. When you become the face of something, she said, you realize not everyone wants you to succeed. It was a subtle jab, but one that hit hard. It confirmed rumors of jealousy and internal tension, something many fans had long suspected but were afraid to say out loud. What shocked people most was her tone, steady, not angry. There was no shouting, no drama, just truth. She spoke with the calm of someone who had accepted that speaking out might cost her, but that silence would cost even more. Within hours, her quotes were everywhere. ESPN segments, podcasts, Twitter debates, fans defending her, critics dissecting her motives. One thing was clear: the WNBA's Golden Star had just broken the code of silence, and the league couldn't ignore her anymore. When Caitlin Clark spoke about the weight of expectations, it wasn't the usual athlete talk about pressure to perform. This went much deeper. She described how every move, every facial expression, even her tone during interviews, was analyzed by league staff and PR managers. You start realizing your smile isn't just yours anymore, she said quietly. It's part of the product. That single line hit millions of fans right in the gut. Behind the fame and sponsorships, she revealed a reality where authenticity was traded for image control. Caitlyn went on to explain how she often felt trapped between two worlds, the player and the brand, as one of the WNBA's biggest stars. She carried the burden of representing not just herself, but the entire league's reputation. Every time she spoke, it had to align with the organization's agenda. Even her moments of joy were packaged and marketed. Sometimes, you feel like they're writing your story for you, she added. The honesty in her voice made the moment even heavier. This wasn't rebellion, it was exhaustion. For the first time, fans got a glimpse into how suffocating it can be to carry an entire sports marketing weight. Caitlyn revealed how she was instructed to participate in campaigns she didn't fully believe in, and how certain appearances were more about optics than empowerment. I wanted to talk about what really matters, but that's not always the headline they want, she admitted. That statement alone set social media ablaze. Supporters called her brave and fearless, while others wondered how the league would respond. The WNBA, known for its tight control over narratives, suddenly looked vulnerable. If Caitlyn, their most valuable star, was peeling back the curtain, what else had been hidden? The silence from officials was deafening. But deep down, everyone knew this wasn't the end. It was only the setup for something far bigger. As Caitlin Clark's words continued to echo across social media, the WNBA's reaction was eerily quiet. No statement, no clarification, no denial, just a strategic silence that only fueled speculation. Fans expected an immediate response, or at least an attempt at damage control. Instead, reporters were met with the same answer from insiders. No comment at this time. That silence became the loudest message of all. For many, it confirmed that Caitlyn's revelations had struck a nerve the league couldn't afford to expose. Behind closed doors, executives were reportedly scrambling. Some sources claimed that internal meetings were called to reassess media coordination around star players. Others whispered that league sponsors were requesting clarity before renewing deals tied to Caitlyn's image. For the first time, the WNBA's leadership appeared caught off guard, unprepared for one of their own to speak with such raw honesty. The very athlete they'd marketed as their centerpiece had now become their biggest disruptor. Meanwhile, fans online split into two camps. One side demanded transparency, calling out the league for failing to protect its players' voices. The other accused Caitlyn of jeopardizing unity within women's basketball. The debate was fierce, but one truth was undeniable. She had sparked a conversation that couldn't be buried. Even analysts, who once criticized her for staying quiet, now praised her courage to speak up. They reflected a pattern seen across professional sports when authenticity clashes with corporate control. The longer the WNBA stayed silent, the more powerful Caitlyn's message became. Each day that passed without a response felt like another confirmation that something deeper was being hidden. Fans began asking if this is how they treat Caitlyn. How are the others treated? That question spread like wildfire, forcing everyone from media to management to take a closer look. Caitlyn's voice had done what no marketing campaign ever could. It made people listen. But what came next would test just how much truth the league was willing to handle. The part of Caitlyn Clark's interview that sent the strongest shockwaves wasn't about contracts or sponsorships. It was when she subtly peeled back the curtain on what life inside the locker room was really like. Without naming names, she painted a picture of quiet tension, teammates who smiled for cameras but carried resentment off-screen. "You start to feel the energy shift," she said. "Not everyone is rooting for you, even when you win." That line hit harder than any stat sheet. It wasn't gossip. It was confession. Fans had long sensed something beneath the surface. Body language during games, awkward post-game interviews, and subtle on-court friction had fueled speculation for months. Caitlyn's calm acknowledgement gave it credibility. She described how success can make people distant, how the spotlight can blind even the closest teammates. "It's hard to stay a team," she added, "when fame changes what people expect from you." It was honest, uncomfortable, and undeniably human. Behind the scenes, insiders had whispered about jealousy, about how Caitlyn's rising star power created an unspoken divide between her and players who felt overshadowed. Some saw her endorsements as unfair. Others felt her attention drew pressure onto the entire team. Caitlyn didn't attack anyone. She just told the truth that success can isolate as much as it elevates. Her words sparked a wider debate. Is the WNBA truly supporting its young stars? Or just exploiting their popularity until it fades? Sports commentators started drawing parallels between her experiences and those of other athletes who burned out under constant expectation. Fans began demanding change, better mental health support, stronger leadership, more transparency. This was no longer just a Caitlyn Clark story. It had become a mirror reflecting the cracks in the WNBA's foundation. And while the league tried to downplay the tension, fans knew the damage was done. Caitlyn had given voice to the whispers, and the truth was now out in the open. Within hours of Caitlyn Clark's interview going public, the corporate side of the WNBA went into overdrive. Sponsorship teams, PR agencies, and brand partners scrambled to control the narrative. Major outlets that had once praised Caitlyn for her media polish suddenly shifted tone, some defending her bravery, others accusing her of stirring unnecessary drama. But the real chaos was happening behind the scenes. Multiple sponsors reportedly called emergency meetings to discuss whether Caitlyn's remarks could damage the league's unity image. That phrase alone, unity image, showed just how fragile the WNBA's foundation really was. Analysts began pointing out the irony. For months, the league had used Caitlyn's face to promote empowerment and transparency. Yet now, her actual honesty was being treated as a threat. A few journalists quietly hinted that some sports media executives were pressured not to cover her comments in depth. Instead, they were told to redirect focus back to her upcoming shoe launch and community appearances. Fans caught on fast. They're trying to bury her words. One viral post read, "That means she's telling the truth." While networks debated how to handle the fallout, Caitlyn's fan base only grew stronger. Her supporters flooded social media with messages of encouragement, calling her the whistleblower of women's basketball. Clips from her interview were re-uploaded thousands of times, often edited with captions like, "They can't silence this." Every attempt to soften the story seemed to backfire. League officials were reportedly reaching out to players and agents to reaffirm loyalty. But some insiders claimed even veterans were privately supporting Caitlyn's stand. The silence from within was breaking. The WNBA had always prided itself on unity. But now that unity looked forced, a performance rather than a principle, Caitlyn had unintentionally exposed how fragile that illusion was. And as the story grew, one question loomed larger than ever. What other secrets were waiting to surface next? By the next morning, what started as a single interview had turned into a full-blown crisis inside WNBA headquarters. Reports surfaced that top executives were holding back-to-back meetings, desperate to find a way to contain the narrative before it spiraled further. Public relations teams drafted statements, but none seemed strong enough to calm the storm. Every version read hollow compared to Caitlin Clark's raw honesty. The league had spent years building a carefully managed image, one of empowerment, progress, and solidarity. Now, that image was unraveling in real time. Insiders revealed that some executives wanted to issue a public rebuttal, while others argued that responding directly to Caitlin would only legitimize her claims. Behind the scenes, tension grew between departments. Marketing teams worried about sponsors pulling out, while player relations warned that silence would alienate athletes already feeling unheard. The very structure of the WNBA's leadership seemed to be cracking under pressure. Meanwhile, whispers of unrest spread among players. Some privately supported Caitlin's stand, saying she had voiced what many were afraid to admit. Others worried that the controversy might damage the league's growth at a time when it needed unity most. But even those who disagreed couldn't deny her courage. She had said what many had only whispered in locker rooms and private chats for years. Fans began organizing online movements under hashtags demanding accountability. Some even called for an independent review of league operations, arguing that transparency was long overdue. The WNBA's refusal to speak only deepened public curiosity. For the first time in years, the league wasn't controlling the story was controlling them. By the end of the week, one thing was clear: Caitlin Clark had forced a reckoning. Her voice had pierced through polished press releases and corporate filters. Whether the league liked it or not, the truth was now in the open, and the world was watching. While chaos erupted around her, Caitlin Clark stayed remarkably composed. She didn't lash out or post long explanations online. Instead, she carried herself with the same quiet confidence that had defined her since college. In a brief statement following the viral storm, she said, "I just spoke from the heart. That's all I've ever tried to do." Those simple words reignited the respect of millions. Fans saw a young woman standing her ground, refusing to let power, pressure, or politics dictate her truth. It wasn't rebellion, it was leadership in its purest form. What happened next stunned everyone. Rather than fading under backlash, Caitlin's popularity soared. Her jersey sales climbed again, social engagement doubled, and her fan base expanded beyond basketball. Even sports legends and analysts who had once criticized her began to publicly applaud her bravery. She didn't just expose the system, one commentator said, she exposed the courage it takes to stand up to it. Meanwhile, cracks in the league's armor continued to spread. Some veteran players began echoing her points in interviews, subtly confirming her claims about overmanagement, favoritism, and lack of transparency. What had started as one player's moment of truth was now turning into a quiet movement. And Caitlin, unintentionally, had become its symbol. But through it all, she stayed grounded. Instead of fueling the fire, she shifted her focus back to training, charity work, and reconnecting with fans, the things that reminded her why she fell in love with the game in the first place. The WNBA could try to manage headlines, but they couldn't manage authenticity. Caitlin's message had already sunk deep into public consciousness. She didn't destroy the league, she challenged it to be better. And for many, that's what made her bigger than basketball. The storm she caused wasn't chaos, it was change. Caitlin Clark's interview will be remembered as the moment the WNBA's silence cracked wide open. With honesty and calm defiance, she forced the league, the media, and the fans to confront uncomfortable truths. What began as one player's voice turned into a movement for transparency and respect. Instead of breaking her, the controversy made her stronger, reshaping how athletes are seen and heard. The WNBA may try to move on, but Caitlin's message will linger, a reminder that truth is louder than control, and that real change often begins with the courage to speak.